Okay, so if you're a caregiver, you've probably heard a million times about diet and exercise for brain health, right? But what if two of the most powerful factors have been hiding in plain sight? Some really groundbreaking research is pointing to a couple of surprising new connections. All right, let's get into it. We're going to explore two connections that scientists are now realizing are absolutely crucial for reducing the risk of cognitive decline. And honestly, these are potential game changers that go way beyond the usual advice. They could really redefine how we approach long-term brain health for the people we care about. So, what are these often overlooked areas? Well, they are hearing health and oral health. Now, I know that might sound a little strange at first, but the science connecting them directly to what's happening in the brain is becoming incredibly compelling. You see, what we're really starting to understand is that taking care of teeth and gums or addressing hearing loss, it's not just about quality of life anymore. These are now seen as fundamental pillars in the actual strategy to protect a loved one's cognitive future. So first, let's tackle this connection between hearing and dementia. I want you to think of it like this. What happens to a brain when the world around it gets quieter, when it sort of goes on mute? Well, the impact is way more profound than you might think. Now, take a look at this quote. What's so important here is the source, the Lancet Commission. We're talking one of the top medical research bodies in the entire world. They identified hearing loss as the single most significant modifiable risk factor. Modifiable. That means it's something we can actually do something about, and that it potentially carries more weight than things like high blood pressure. That is a huge, huge statement. Which leads to a totally fair question. How? How are hearing and brain health actually connected? Because yeah, the link isn't immediately obvious. But researchers have a few really compelling theories about what's going on behind the scenes. So it seems to come down to three main things. First up is something called cognitive load. Just imagine your brain working overtime, straining all day just to decode sounds. Well, that diverts precious energy away from other crucial jobs, like memory. Second, there are actual physical brain changes. Studies have shown that hearing loss can lead to the brain literally shrinking faster, especially in areas vital for thinking. And third, and this one's huge, social isolation. When it's tough to follow a conversation, people tend to withdraw. And we know that loneliness and isolation are major risk factors for cognitive decline. Now, I know, hearing all that can feel a little overwhelming. But here's the crucial part, the part I really want you to hear. This risk is modifiable. We can do something about it. This isn't a sealed fate, it's an opportunity. It's a chance to step in and make a difference. And just how big of a difference are we talking about? Well, check this out. A landmark study from just last year, 2023, found that simply using hearing aids could slash the risk of cognitive decline by nearly half, up to 48%. That is an absolutely massive return for what is a single, straightforward action. Okay, so that's hearing. Now for our second surprising link, the mouth-brain connection. And I bet you're wondering, what on earth do my loved one's gums have to do with their brain? Well, as it turns out, the answer is surprisingly direct. It all boils down to this one powerful and often really destructive process in our bodies. Chronic inflammation is a well-known enemy of brain health. And as it turns out, the mouth can be a major and often hidden source of it. The main villain in this story is a severe gum disease called periodontitis. And we're not just talking about a little bleeding when you brush. This is a persistent, chronic bacterial infection that basically creates an open gateway for harmful bacteria to escape the mouth and travel everywhere else in the body. So what happens next? Well, the damage seems to happen in two ways. First, those bacteria trigger a body-wide inflammatory response that can, over time, harm brain cells. But second, and this is even more alarming, some studies have actually found the specific bacteria from gum disease physically inside the brains of people with Alzheimer's. It suggests a direct invasion is possible. So when you take these two pieces and you put them together, hearing and oral health, they actually form an incredibly powerful two-pronged strategy for protecting the brain. It's really about tackling two major sources of cognitive risk at the very same time. Let's just break it down really simply. With hearing loss, the problem is often social isolation and that cognitive strain. The solution is to help re-engage your loved ones socially and ease that strain. With poor oral health, the problem is chronic inflammation. The solution? Reduce that inflammation. By helping your loved one manage both, you are building a really powerful defense for their long-term brain health. I want to be really clear here.
The goal of this information is not to cause alarm or add one more thing to your to-do list. It's the exact opposite. It's meant to empower you. These are real, actionable insights that give you more tools to make a genuine difference.
So with that in mind, let's turn all this fascinating science into a simple, practical action plan that you can start using, today. All right, for hearing health, everything starts with a baseline, so encourage a hearing test. If it turns out hearing aids are needed, their consistent use is absolutely key to reducing that cognitive load we talked about. And you can make a huge difference with simple habits, like turning down the TV to reduce background noise, and just making sure you face them when you speak. And for oral health, focus on making the routine easy. An electric toothbrush can be a game changer. Those regular 6-month checkups are truly your best defense to catch gum disease early. Be on the lookout for warning signs like red or swollen gums. And finally, something so simple, encourage hydration. A glass of water helps fight the bacteria that just love a dry mouth.
The bottom line is this. While of course there are no guarantees, the evidence is getting clearer every day. By prioritizing these often overlooked parts of health, you are actively, truly investing in your loved one's cognitive future. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. It doesn't have to be some huge, monumental task. Whether it's scheduling that hearing test or just buying a pack of floss picks, what is one simple step you can put into action this week?